Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm Macy Renee and I'm so excited to have you back. So I just wanted to quickly say thank you for being an avid listener and that, the feedback that you're giving me, that you're loving the podcast. I recently got an email last week that had me so giddy to learn that I had made the charts, which is something I think you look forward to when you start a podcast. You're like, am I ever going to make the charts? There's thousands of podcasts out there. And I was 96 in the USA for self-improvement, 763 in Australia for self-improvement, and number 10 in Egypt for self-improvement. And there were other rankings on there as well for meeting the education categories. And all of it just had me so excited and so giddy. So thank you for being someone that gets on here, listens to the podcast, messages me, gives me feedback. Like all of it means so much to me. So with that being said, today we're going to be diving into the topic of action. And to rewind a little bit, the last few episodes have kind of been linear in going deeper and deeper and deeper into the concept of, we all have circumstances that leads to the thoughts that we have, that leads to the feelings that are created in our body, which leads to the action that we do or do not take, and then that leads to our results. And today we're going to dive into more action and understanding why we take action or why we don't. Now, what's funny about this is that today when I got off work, if you're a new listener here, I am a pediatric occupational therapist. That's what I went to college to do, and then realized actually, when I was still in college, I realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So although I do love my job, I could feel something inside of me that felt like a deeper calling. I had no idea what it was at the time. In fact, back then, it felt very defeating to have this deeper desire in my soul because one, I had spent close to $100,000 on my college education and student loans, knowing that, oh gosh, this doesn't light me up to do it for the next 50 years of my life. So what in the crap am I going to do? And what's going to excite me? What's going to light me up? Fast forward to what I'm doing now, the podcast, life coaching, all of that just fuels me. And I think that it's going to go perfectly into what we're talking today and about that action and the actions that we take and the actions that we don't take. And with that being said, I got off work today and I had so many thoughts around, I'm so tired. I can't wait to meet my bed. I can't wait to lay in bed. I just bought the most comfortable mattress pad. It's like a cooling mattress pad. And like all white sheets and then this down comforter, and we sleep with it on like 66 at night and then have two fans blowing really hard so it gets really, really cold in our room. And we've got this big fluffy down comforter that's like the best thing ever. And so when I got off work today, I was like, I can't wait to just lay in bed and nap. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to do a podcast. But what is so funny about this is that is exactly what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is the action. Because the action that you do or do not take in your life leads to the results that you're getting. So the little decisions that you're making in your life on a moment to moment basis that really feel like it's no big deal add up to where you're going to be a year from now. So I could have come home and taken a nap, like that would have been totally fine. But I could also record a podcast, get more content out to you guys, and who knows who needs to hear the message and how that's going to serve you or me down the road. So it's really important to think about that type of stuff. Okay, so if you haven't listened to the previous 2 episodes, I would definitely recommend going back and doing that, since these episodes tend to be more linear. It's certainly not required, and I think you're going to get something out of it regardless. But going back a little bit, we have been learning that you have a circumstance in your life which leads to thoughts and mind drama that maybe your brain creates. And based on the thoughts that you're having about that circumstance, you then get a feeling in your body. And it's the feelings in your body that contribute to the action that you do or do not take. So this is really important to get a good handle on, because what that is saying is that you act based on how you're feeling, okay? So today I was feeling very tired, which meant that the action that I was going to take was to come home and take a nap. And there are 2 ways that I can look at this. If I really felt tired and really felt like, okay, I need to honor my body, I need to listen, I need to give myself self-care, I'm asking for a nap, so I should do that, I could look at it that way, right, and honor that. But what I also know is that that has become kind of routine for me. I will work a full day, and then I feel sleepy, and then I come home and I take a nap, and then I'm up half the night. And so it doesn't really feel, for me at this point, like it's productive as much as it is, or it doesn't feel like it's so much self-care as it is routine, if that makes sense. It's habitual. It's become something that I've done so many times that now my brain expects to come home and take a nap. And you're probably thinking in your mind, like, what's the big deal if you do or do not take a nap? And the thing is, there are other ways that I can productively build my business, spend my time, and depending on the action that I take in this moment is dependent on the results that I'm going to see down the road. And this is evident because for the last year before doing this podcast, before, even launching my program, so let's even go back a year, 2 years ago, coming home and taking a nap didn't get me any further in my business. You know what I mean? And then I would kind of like spin these thoughts like, why am I not growing fast enough? And it's like, duh, Macy, because you're coming home and you're napping. So obviously you're not going to grow and expand if you're coming home and taking a 3-hour nap. It seems very simple, but think about how many times you know there's something that you need to be doing or that you should be doing and you're not doing it. Exhibit A. I should be following my diet. I should be choosing a salad over this cheeseburger. I should be going to the gym right now. The thing about it in life is that oftentimes we know what we need to be doing. Like we know what we should be doing. We know what's going to help us in the long run. We know the decisions that are going to propel us forward, and we don't do it. And I have clients ask me all the time, why is it that I know what I should be doing and I'm not doing it? Like I know I need to work out. I know I need to go do this. I know I need to do this action for my business. Why am I not doing it when I know what I need to do? And here's the reason why. Because of how you're feeling about it. And guess what? How you're feeling about it comes from the thoughts that you're having about it. So if you're having thoughts, let's just go back to the diet example, because we all know that we know what to do in order to lose weight. Like if you're wanting to lose weight, or if you're wanting to tone your body, or if you're wanting to be more healthy, you know that that requires a healthier diet than whatever you're probably doing now, and maybe working out a few days a week. You know that. We know that. That's knowledge we have. We know what to do. Why aren't we all doing it? And the reason that we're not doing it is because of how we're feeling and what we're thinking about it. And whatever we're thinking about it creates feelings in our body that contribute to what we do or do not do. So if you know that you need to work out and you know that you need to eat healthy, but you're having thoughts like, I'm craving a cheeseburger, and I know that that would taste better, even though I know that that's not good for me, but one time isn't going to hurt, right? That's a thought. And your brain believes that thought. Your brain also has evidence that eating a cheeseburger in the moment doesn't immediately cause you to gain 15 pounds. If it did, we would probably never touch a cheeseburger again, or maybe we would. But if you knew that eating that cheeseburger was going to immediately put 15 pounds on your body, it'd be a lot easier to talk yourself out of it. But because you're not going to see an immediate consequence from eating the cheeseburger over the salad, right, or whatever it is, the hummus, the vegetables, whatever it is that you need to be eating instead, or you want to be eating instead, it's much easier for your brain to just talk you into eating the cheeseburger because you're not going to see an immediate consequence. And why does your brain do that? We've talked about this in some past episodes. Because it's always seeking what is most comfortable and what is already habitual. So the whole purpose of growing, right, is to do things that make you uncomfortable. Like that's what growth is, doing things that make you uncomfortable. So when we bypass and we choose what we've always done, right, and we go with maybe the excuses we've always had or the excuses that feel most feasible in that moment, it's simply your brain deciding, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to feel any sort of pain. Like the brain is always looking for pleasure. That's what it's seeking at all times. So if you have a thought of, I don't want to eat the hummus, that's disgusting, or the salad sounds so much worse than a burger, or the burger is going to be this big, juicy, yummy, delicious thing with cheese and bacon and all of the good stuff, your brain is going to be like, yeah, just one time isn't going to hurt. That thought creates a feeling in your body, right? That you then have feelings in your body of, oh my gosh, I'm going to really enjoy this burger. And then when you're thinking about the salad, you're like, oh, that's not going to be pleasure for me. Like that's going to be torture if this is what you're thinking. And then that contributes to the action that you do or do not take. So then you go eat the cheeseburger, right? You go take the nap instead of working out and going to the gym or doing the podcast or posting for your business or whatever it is that you know that you need to be doing. And it's so funny because we know what we need to do. I witness this all the time. I'm like, you know what you need to do. It's the same thing in personal development, okay? The thing about it is, like, you can listen to all the podcasts. You can absorb all the information. You can listen to each of my episodes 500 times. You can hire a life coach. You can do all of these things and take all of these actions. But at the end of the day, if you're also not implementing them and training your brain around the thoughts that you're having about them, it's still not going to be as productive. You know what you need to do. We know as a society what we need to do to better ourselves, to help our bodies, to nourish our bodies. But that doesn't keep us from having bad habits, like, for instance, me going to Chick-fil-A and drinking a large sweet tea with light ice or no ice. Like, I know I shouldn't be consuming that much sugar, but when I go get one, it's like I can witness my brain choosing pleasure over pain, and pain feels like drinking water in that moment. I actually do like drinking water, but whenever my brain has this thought of a sweet tea would make you feel a lot better right now, and then I go for that, I go for the bait that my brain is throwing, it's like, oh, well, I don't need to worry about it because I'm not going to gain 15 pounds from drinking that one sweet tea, so it's totally fine. But as you do that every single day, then you start seeing the pounds come on, right? There's results for the actions that you're taking. And the actions that you're taking right now really determine where you're going to be a year from now. So you really have to get clear on, what do you want your results in life to look like, and really implement the actions that are going to get you to the result, knowing that if you are not taking action, or you're taking the quote unquote wrong actions that are opposite of the results that you're wanting, the reason why you're self-sabotaging in that way is because your brain is having thoughts about it, but also your brain is looking to find the pleasure in the situation. And if it doesn't see it and it feels any sort of discomfort or any sort of fear, and it can predict that anything might go wrong, because that's what your brain is designed to do, then it's going to have you abort the mission. So another reason that I wanted to bring this up is because I often get messages or hear comments about like, it's so awesome to see where you are in your journey and how much you've grown and evolved and you've changed. And what I'm realizing sometimes with people who reach out and message me, of course, I love the compliment. I take it and absorb it, and I really appreciate it, because for several people, especially close to me or on my social media, they have watched me transform, evolve, and grow and do new things. But also, I think it's very easy for social media to be everyone's highlight reel. So a lot of times we see the accomplishments, but we don't always see the crap behind the scenes that they have had to go through. And so sometimes people are reaching out to me to know how they can get the immediate results that they're seeing. And the thing about it is it's not about getting the immediate results. That doesn't happen because that doesn't exist. There is no quick fix. It's the same thing with working out. Like if there was a magic diet pill, I think we all would have figured it out by now, and everybody would be taking it to shed some pounds or get the body of their dreams. When the reality is, I actually used to train like a bodybuilder does. It takes a lot of work. And, even back then people would message me and say, what do you do to get that body? And I would be like, oh my gosh, like they don't even understand what is happening behind the scenes, like the meal prepping, the measuring, the, really planning out my food, the requesting specific things from a restaurant that something doesn't have butter or it's not cooked a certain way, so that way I can reach my goals, like the studying that I'm doing behind the scenes to learn about macros and all of that stuff. Like, people a lot of times want the quick fix. They want the results that they're seeing, and they admire where you're at, but they also forget that you took a series of actions over time to get to the results that they are now witnessing. And so when they desire those results, a lot of times they are looking for the quickest way to get there. And when it comes to growing and evolving as a person, like now when people are saying that to me, I'm like, this has been a 5.5-year journey of multiple, books on books on books, podcasts on podcasts on podcasts, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on life coaches and mentors and retreats and everything that has gotten me here to even be able to do like the podcast and have this information that I'm pouring into you. It's not a one size fits all. It's not listening to the podcast episodes and suddenly becoming your highest self the next day or in the moment that the episode is over. It's implementation of the principles and things that you're being taught over and over and over again. This podcast specifically is hopefully helping you become more self-aware, because like I said earlier on in this episode, is that you can know everything that you need to do. We know a lot of what we need to do to grow. It's already inside of us. What happens is there's a lot of resistance, and the resistance is coming from your brain trying to protect you and having all of these thoughts telling you why everything that you're doing is going to go wrong, or why it's not going to work, or why it's going to be scary, or why this is not the right time, or why you don't have enough time, or why you don't have enough money. Like all of those things are basically roadblocks to keep you stagnant and where you're at for a longer period of time, so that your brain feels safe and it doesn't have to figure things out. But what I'm learning more and more every single day is I push myself, right? Coming home and wanting to take a nap so bad, and instead of doing this podcast, is that when you put yourself under pressure, you get way more out of your growth and learning experience, because part of the human experience is that it wants to feel growth. It wants to feel evolution. And doing so means doing what's hard. So if I wanted to do what was easy, I would have came home, I would be sleeping right now. And that sounds really good to me, but instead I'm choosing to put my time and attention into giving you content and doing this podcast and then editing this after it's done and uploading it and all of that stuff. And so what I want you to really remember is when you're seeing a result in someone else, or there's something that you desire or a result that you're chasing, really look into your life and say, what actions am I taking to get there? And am I proud of the actions that I'm taking? Like, do I know what I need to be doing, and am I doing them, or am I avoiding them and kind of in a subconscious way looking for the quickest fix to get what I'm wanting? Because it doesn't work that way. This is a journey. When you want to grow and evolve and get the result, whatever that result is that you're looking for. And I'm even talking to myself in this moment. Like, there are goals that I have that I want to reach in my business, monetary goals and accomplishments, with this podcast, with getting myself out there, with becoming more well-known as a life coach, all of that stuff. That means that I have to take actions that are going to feel very scary to me or make me feel uneasy, or things that I would much rather be doing. And in those moments, this is where self-awareness comes in. I have to recognize, okay, why do I want to take that nap? Because I want to temporarily feel better. I temporarily want to avoid what I know that I need to be doing. I temporarily want that comfort, and if it truly felt in my soul that I needed a break, that my body needed a break and I needed self-care, then I would implement that. But I know me enough to know that this has become a habitual routine, and my brain sees it as being super comfortable, and that's the only reason that I want to nap. But I also have evidence from the past that doing that for a whole year when I could have been doing other things sets me back from the results that I'm wanting. So right now, I can't see the end goal of where this podcast will be a year from now, or where my business will be a year from now, or how many more clients I'll have a year from now, or whatever the result will be. But I have to trust that I am taking different action than I normally would in this moment, because I'm choosing to have different thoughts, even though I feel sleepy, tired, not as motivated, right? And I'm working through those pains in my body and my mind anyways, and just pushing through to the other side. And that's going to help me get a different result than I've always gotten in the past. So that's the thing too, is it's the definition of insanity, right? When we are expecting a different result, but we're doing the thing that we've always done. We're using the excuses we've always used. And that is pressure that I have put myself under for the last 5.5 years to get to where I am today. It's not an overnight thing. It's not as simple as just Googling, what to do, or listening to the podcast and then all of a sudden being a changed person tomorrow. For me, it's taken a lot of leaning in, being uncomfortable, becoming more self-aware, being aware of what thoughts that I'm having, listening to my body and what I'm feeling, getting to the root of all of my anxiety I've held to my entire life. Last episode, I got very vulnerable with you guys, and I will admit that when I hit publish on that episode, I was like, oh my gosh, I was tracking to see anybody that listened to it, because with each person that listened to it, my heart got more and more and more anxiety, and I wanted to run away screaming. I'm like, I cannot believe I shared something that 3 years ago I never ever thought that I would be in a place to share that. Truly, the amount of life coaching I paid for just to be able to share more of my story and be vulnerable, that has been 3 years of consistent work and getting to a place where I felt like I could authentically share my story and do it from a good place without completely having a meltdown about what is everybody going to think? How am I going to do this? Oh my gosh, my life is going to fall apart. I'm going to die. I can't believe I shared that. And while I still had some of those fears come up, I also got amazing feedback. Like, thank you so much for being so authentic, so real, so transparent. But I also had to do a lot of healing work to be in this place where I can open up more about my life on such a huge platform. I mean, other people from other countries are listening to this podcast. So the whole point of this action episode is that you know more than likely what you need to be doing in your life, that the decisions that you should be making, right, to get the results that you're wanting. And if you're having all of these thoughts like, why am I not doing this? Why am I self-sabotaging? It's because your brain doesn't want you to feel uncomfortable. Your brain does not want you to feel anything other than pleasure. And if it's given two options, it's always going to pick what feels better in the moment. So the way that you reel yourself back in is you say, is this getting me closer to my goal or further from my goal? And then if you continue to self-sabotage, you really have to get clear with yourself on why and how long you're going to choose to do that. You don't want it bad enough. Like, the thing about it is, I used to use the excuse all the time of I don't have the time to do that, or I don't have the money to do that. And I could find evidence, like my brain could find all the evidence in the world for why I didn't have the money to do it, or why it was too hard, or why I didn't have enough time. And I could go with those excuses and feel very validated, feel like, this is legit, it's fine. But also, if I continued that story, I would never be where I'm at right now. Like, I would still have been telling my mentors and my coaches, I don't have the money for that. Sorry, I can't grow right now. I'm going to have to wait until it's a better time. And what we don't realize is that allowing our brain to figure it out in that moment, putting ourselves under immense pressure to grow and do something that maybe we've never done, is on the other side. So like, the very thing that we're avoiding, or the very excuse that we're using, is the teaching moment for changing your life. Like, as soon as you can put yourself under the pressure of your own excuse and overcome it, that's the new you on the other side. Like, you know what you need to do. So the moment that you really get clear on what are all the excuses that my brain is coming up with right now, what are all the reasons that I feel uncomfortable, that is the gold. That's the teaching moment. That is the thing that you work on to overcome. Like, that is literally the thing, the very reason why you won't do something when you know you need to do it, or you know that you need it in your life, or you know that the change needs to happen. The very, very reason that you don't do it, that you don't take the action, that you come up with every excuse, is the breakthrough. I want you to really hear that. That is the breakthrough. That's your moment. That is your transformation on the other side. That is your highest self just on the other side of the door. It is so crazy, so simple, but so hard for us to make that decision, because it means putting ourselves basically in a, what do they call it? Like those pressure pots that like put you under pressure. I can't think of it. Like a crock pot. It's not a crock pot. What is the name of that? Pressure cooker. That's what it is. The pressure cooker. It's like putting yourself in a pressure cooker. It feels so dang uncomfortable when you're under that amount of pressure. But on the other side of that is transformation. So when people say, I really want to experience the results you have, or I want to have a podcast like you, or I want to build a business like you, or I want whatever it is, right? What they're not seeing is all of the times that I put myself under pressure behind the scenes, all the times that I was crying because I didn't know if I'd be able to make a payment to my coach, and yet I figured it out and I grew on the other side, and then I was able to bring in more income from that, right? Or whatever it is, all the things that feel very easily avoidable, like right now going and taking a nap instead of doing the podcast, that would be totally fine. But I am in a place where I'm like constantly putting myself in a situation to grow. And that's how my mindset works. So now whenever I'm looking to get to the next level, whenever I'm looking for a certain result, I'm thinking, okay, what are all the thoughts that I'm having about it? What are all the fears that I'm having about it? How is it making me feel in my body when I'm thinking about it that way? What is the result that I'm wanting? and then I look at the action that I actually need to take and then take action from that place. And usually it means the opposite action of what I actually want to do. So like whatever I want to do is probably not the action that I need to be taking. The action that I don't want to do is the action that I need to be taking. And if that action makes me feel like I'm going to poop my pants or cry or have a panic attack, usually that's the action that gets me closer to my highest self and helps me grow and evolve into the person that I am even today. So I hope that this episode helps you with taking action and doing the things that scare you or doing the things that just feel downright uncomfortable, because that is the magic. So all you have to do is think, what is the result that I'm wanting in my life? What action am I currently taking? Because whatever action that you take every single day, if you take the same action every single day, 365 days from now, your life will look exactly the same. So that means little tiny tweaks. If there's a different result that you're wanting to get in your life, you have to make different decisions. So even with my clients, when they're like, I need to be working out, don't beat yourself up if you're not eating everything that you should be eating 7 days a week. Like, one of the things that I teach them is make small, minuscule changes and then celebrate that. So in the morning, if you would normally stop and get a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit from McDonald's, and that morning instead you have a yogurt, right? Celebrate that you were able to eat that yogurt. And then if for lunch you fall off and you go eat something bad, don't beat yourself up so much about it that you're like, oh, well, the rest of the week is ruined, so I'm just going to eat McDonald's the rest of the week since I already ruined it. You really need to like reel yourself back in and ask your brain, like, why are you self-sabotaging me? Why is this so difficult for me? And usually it's going to be because of the discomfort that you're feeling in making that change. So it's really important to highlight those moments where you're doing the thing, right? Like right now I'm celebrating. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing the thing I didn't want to do initially. Like I really wanted to take a nap. And so I'm going to celebrate this moment. And actually now I don't even feel sleepy. I feel energized and excited. And after this, I will probably edit the episode, upload the episode, and then continue to work on my business because I feel excited and I've shifted my energy. So don't beat yourself up about not doing enough. Celebrate those little tiny actions that you take that are different than what you wanted to do or that what you would normally do, because 365 days of doing that from a moment to moment basis is what gets you closer to where you want to be. So make the decisions that feel hard. Take action that you wouldn't normally take, right? Don't do the comfortable action. Do what makes you squirm and freak out a little bit, and that's more than likely the action that is going to get you to where you want to be. Have an amazing day, you guys, and I will see you next episode.